Spanning 32 acres, Lincolnshire Wildlife Park is now one of the largest wildlife parks in the UK. Its natural woodland setting is home to an array of animals that draw in visitors from far and wide. There are many experiences to be had at the park, from getting up close to Bengal tigers or lemurs, or dining side by side with reptiles and feeding the meerkats. Always striving to do more, the park raises funds to create bigger and better enclosures for the animal residents, like the Bengal Gardens, which opened in 2017. Similar developments are to come for the park's white lions. They're the only white lions currently in the UK. The park also boasts the largest group of Bengal tigers in Europe, as well as one of the largest parrot collections. In 1995, the National Parrot Sanctuary was established there to tackle the problem of increasing numbers of parrots and other birds needed to be rehomed in the UK. It is now home to over 2,000 birds, 1,000 of which are rehomed parrots and parakeets. A new endeavour at the park is to establish the National Turtle Sanctuary, and for largely the same reason. Turtles are becoming a problem pet and invasive species within the UK, often abandoned to fend for themselves in the British countryside when people can no longer take care of them. The National Centre for Reptile Welfare became overwhelmed by the challenge of rehoming almost 400 turtles that arrived since 2018. We visited the park to speak with the CEO Steve Nichols about the inspiration and plans for this turtle facility, and how it will become the home for up to 2,000 rescued turtles, while also contributing to research about their presence in the UK.
We're avid followers of Facebook, like most people are on social media, and we noticed when looking at the NCRW page that they were being inundated with turtles, and it just came across that these were going to be another problem animal. Unfortunately, this is a mindset that most people have, that if you're going to take your turtle to a rehoming centre or a sanctuary and they actually inform you that the only thing they're allowed to do is euthanize it, then most people actually then come up with a brilliant excuse that it's okay, some member of the family will have it, like Uncle Joe will have it, something like that. But then on the way back they will see a nice plot of water and just think that's got to be better than being put to sleep. So they end up dropping these poor animals into this pool of water, which is usually a nice pond or a lake that looks ideal. From what we can gather from the information that is being passed around, 50% of those animals die very, very quickly, and then the rest take up like residence there. But then what that does, it becomes a hotspot where people actually start seeing that's where you dump your turtles. So then they start dropping them off before they even get to the rescue centres. It said to me that we could very quickly see, we've been involved in the parrot side of things for well over 30 years now, and in a really strange way, turtles hit the same chords where they were staying with people for quite a long time, but nobody really wants a second-hand turtle. There's certain animals, and they do fall into a problem category for everybody, not only just pets, but what you do find is, unless you're a huge sanctuary, once they've been down their gypsy route of going from importer to pet shop to pet owner, and then a number of pet owners, then they would end up in a normal small sanctuary. But unless you've got the capacity for a large number, it doesn't take long before even that becomes full. The way I look at it is, if we look at the general consensus around the UK, there's only going to be a certain amount of people that can actually take them in, and those that take them in only have a certain network out, and it's all limited to whatever the species is, whatever the creature is. But then you find that there is, if we talk numbers, if there's 20 sanctuaries out there and they've all got 50 friends, it doesn't take long to add the numbers up before we start realising there's now nowhere else for them to go. The first process is we make them identifiable, so they are all microchipped and they're all weighed, and we take a photograph of them so we've got an identity as well. They're measured, so that becomes an ID and is entered into the zoo system so we know where they are. They then go into an introductory pond, so that is literally just to give them time to acclimatise and settle in. And once they've been through that, we, depending on the species and the timing, I think we have a 7-day quarantine period in the first process and then a 23-day in the second process, where they go into acclimatization tanks, which are the pools that we have set behind us. And then from there they go into what we class as a natural pod. So we'll be having a number of pods around the site, probably up to about 35, 40 to start off with over the next couple of years. And each one will hold anything from 20 to 40 animals. And hopefully once they become established there, that's where they'll live full time until they get too large. And then we have a number of rather large lakes that we can actually put them into for full-time habitats. At the moment, we don't get many from the wild, but we have had 1 or 2 wild ones turn up. And we've been approached now by, as the news starts filtering around, we've been approached by a number of councils who have like garden lakes and park lakes that they've noticed the conspicuous number of turtles increasing, who have asked us if we can assist them by bringing their animals here. Sadly, there's certain animals that once you've seen 1 or 2, it's no different to seeing 100. So what we want to do is use it more of an educational exhibit, so we can actually make a very naturalistic area. So the initial area is about an acre to an acre and a half, which is going to be set in natural woodland. And hopefully it's not going to be just the animal as an exhibit, it's going to be the area, the enclosure and the actual habitat. The research is going to be under a number of things, but basically it's to see what kind of environmental impact these little creatures are having, or the big creatures are having.
Lincolnshire Wildlife Park is set to become one of the first UK paid attractions that hosts a free educational resource for schools named Wildlife for Learning, of which the turtle exhibits will be a main feature. Steve believes that expenses should not bar children from seeing the learning about animals, which was the main inspiration behind the project. The turtles will also play a role in research on the environmental impact in UK ponds and lakes.
So we've got a rather large research lake, which is going to be segmented into 4 areas, and one area will have no animals in it whatsoever. The other 3 will have different species in, but all the 4 areas will all have exactly the same plant and animal life in there. And over a period of a number of years, we want to see if there is a detrimental impact on our natural environment or not, because we are all guessing at the moment. Hopefully there isn't, but that's what it's all going to be about, along with disease management and maybe dispelling some of the actual things that's already out there about how diseased some of these animals are. It might not be as bad as what we actually think. Okay, what we've done as far as the turtle rehoming is we've set up a hotline or a hot email address so that you can actually get direct to our guys, and it is very simple. It is just turtle@linkswildlife.com. If you send an email to there, one of our guys will get back to you and hopefully assist you as soon as possible.
Before the more recent turtle issues, Lincolnshire Wildlife Park offered a second chance at life to many parrots and parakeets that needed a new home in the form of the National Parrot Sanctuary. Many factors come to light that cause people to give up their birds. Just like the turtles, many often aren't prepared for the challenges of these exotic animals as pets.
There's always been a lot of parrots rehomed, and I think that's just basically because people's actual imagination of what a parrot is isn't really what it turns out to be. And again, this goes down to hand rearing, because when they first get their bird, it's usually a very quiet, loving bundle of feathers. And because they're so long lived, what usually happens is we as people, as normal people, have pets for 10 to 15 years, and then we move on. It's up to us then whether we have a choice of buying another one or getting involved with another pet. Unfortunately, some parrots can live to 40 or 50 years. And if the average person's buying a parrot at 35, 40, the chances are the bird's still going to be living when you're thinking about what's happening when you're not going to be living, or just changes in your life. And sadly, not many of us, when we're 30, are going to be doing the same things when we get to 40, 50 or 60. And most people don't like the idea that their lives are dictated to by what the parrot can and can't do. And most neighbours won't look after your parrot. So you end up changing your life just for the parrots. And in the end, we see a lot of people in their late 50s, early 60s, who simply just want a life. They want to be able to go out on a weekend, and they realise that their poor parrot's been sat in a cage for an awful long time, and they can, if you excuse the pun, kill two birds with one stone. It means they get a little bit more freedom, and the parrot has a little bit more of a natural life. I think people's vision of a parrot is one that's sat on your shoulder like this and everything looks really lovely. They expect them to all talk, and the majority of parrots don't actually talk. But then they all expect them to be proficient talkers. And sadly, again, there's only one or two species that you are going to get that. What people get disappointed quite quickly when they find out that it's not going to recite Shakespeare, it's not going to be quiet when they want it to be, and when they bite, they really do bite. So their expectations of what a parrot is and what it turns out to be are usually quite different. Unfortunately, they are quite magnetic, and you do fall in love with them quite quickly. So most people, putting up with them is probably the wrong term, but most people will actually keep a parrot and care for it the best they possibly can for as long as they can, until their conscience tells them that something's not quite right, and they realise very quickly that everything we do for a parrot in a pet situation is usually wrong. So we want to keep it as a loving creature that just likes all the family and that will be quiet, obedient and do what we want it to. But unfortunately, that's everything that a parrot isn't. They're very noisy, naturally. They live in a flock with a mate, and they like freedom. And unfortunately, in your house or in a normal house, that's everything that they're lacking. The first tip I would say is get tropical fish and not parrots. Secondly is don't do this. Don't have parrots high up on you, because if that's the most vulnerable place that you're going to get bitten, and if a parrot sees that, then you're going to be in serious problems. Not because he's going to be nasty, he's just going to see something that he shouldn't see, and that's your fear. But really what I would say to you is, this is going to sound very contradictory, but the more you can do this, the better. Most of us can't stick to a routine. Parrots love routine. So therefore, the best routine for a parrot is literally no routine at all. Feed him twice a day, feed him when you want in those twice a days, move the food about, don't let him get settled. The reason for that is we won't get settled. You will go to work, you will go on holiday, you will go to the shops, the kids will go to the school. Parrots don't like that. Parrots like a routine in their life, and the instant you break it, you'll display problems. The instant he displays problems, you'll change yet again. And when you start changing, you're just promoting him to be bad. So really, if you're going to have a parrot, don't have one, have two. Don't only have a cage, have an aviary. And just be prepared for 20 or 30 years of living with a 2 to 5 year old child that will get on your nerves, I'll guarantee you.
The need for rehabilitation and rehoming of turtles is yet to slow down, but there is hope for the future thanks to legislation and responsible animal trade. You can help to support this dedicated work of rehoming animals by donating to their charity through their website, or simply by visiting the fantastic wildlife park. Thank you.